Hi, everyone. I haven't done one of these in a long time, kind of supplemental uh, theory type class that feels like it's too much to do in the middle of a class, but it feels like some content or an offering that I want to bring into the swirl of our work together. So I'm going to start with a story, and this is kind of about the kind of help bringing together the star pattern, this extraordinary gift that Mika, you brought into the form, into the material, into the work. And that it's so beautiful, an example that I really mean, this is co-creative work. So as we enter different patterns, and today we did suspension, and there's a lot of mystery there, a lot of space for all of your contribution to the articulating and the explorations of the material. So years and years ago, I was being mentored at the Voice Care Network by an Alexander teacher, Alice Pryor. Many of you have heard of her, maybe even worked with her. And she and I had opposite patterns in terms of what in Alexander is called the use of the self, or our stature, or maybe in our work, we'd call it our tone. So Alice came from a compressed way. And the Alexander work brought her into her spring, like in this direction, in that emerging way. I probably started there, but had done so much other training that I was more rigid up, but also really more out, like pulled out. And it was so amazing to work together because, she would often do particular hands-on that would like help do the kind of touch on the shoulder that would really give this sense of like a rooting of the shoulder blade and an opening that would bring this kind of from here, inviting and opening, not in a fixing way, but a beautiful opening up, but in a way that for me, it often felt like I was sort of afraid of this direction because that's what I had freed myself from. And I was often bringing people doing this kind of movement, getting mobility in the upper ribs that is so crucial for those of us who come from a lifting out there pattern. And it took us a while to realize like we were making a greater whole by the two of us. And there wasn't one way that I really learned from her about that opening through the whole back, for how incredible that feels for someone who's been pulled down and just not happily, and so forth. So I think it's so often that what we bring to a work like opens up different doorways. And I think this is in Star, and Mika, you correct me if I'm wrong on this. It was so beautiful, Mika, your story when you introduced how it came. All of us could almost feel this, like the exuberance, I can speak my truth, just like opening and the emergence and the birthing. And I think it's such that explosive, expansive star energy. It's so beautiful and important. And then I noticed myself, we did that class where we were looking at the opening and then the sort of the silence. And this is where I think, Mika, you and I, as we together, you brought it, and together we're shaping Star, and hopefully all of us together are shaping Star. I come from a pattern where, just like the one with Alice, I was up, but it was also one of exuberance. I got all kinds of support in my life for exuberance and bubbliness and energy. Like that kept being a thing. And you can hear my voice became the biggest issue for me. It's literally how I got to Alexander and how I ended up doing incredible amounts of body work stuff had to do with vocal stuff, so for me, my entire sort of pattern in life has been about calming, of getting quiet. So I think what I mean is that that the thing that makes me feel more myself, like my true voice, is the one where I'm not reaching out. Like it was clear to me that like I had confused excitement and that kind of thing with joy, with being myself. And when I'm more over myself, when I'm actually have a sense of quiet and listening, that makes me feel more whole, more full voiced. And so I feel like, Mika, you and I did the same thing like Alice. We maybe our stories came from different directions, and it gives us a greater whole of the pattern. Because there's the exuberant side, there's the side where somebody needs to like stretch their, open their wings fully, no shame, full aliveness. And some of us have had our wings so far out, we kind of need to let them like root back down over ourselves to find our voice, our heart. So, and I love this because it was so vivid in this, that I think that's true as we look at all the patterns, we don't have a continuum model in this work. We have that sphere model that some of them have it in it, embrace and release, the crest and the trough, that's part of what these patterns have is things that you might call complementary, oppositional, but they're also, I think there might even be some versions on the side, if here is like silence and here is shouting to the rooftops, there might be subtle sides. So we're developing the patterns. So I think that's it. I just wanted to play around with that as us seeing that each of us comes to these with what I might be emphasizing something, but you might need another side of the pattern that I'm not emphasizing, because I'll often emphasize from my story, even as I'm trying to be inclusive in the leading. And so whenever you meet a pattern, if something we're doing like doesn't resonate, maybe play and find the side that supports what the direction you're wanting to go in the sphere of the work. So I think that's it. And as we come to suspension, which is such a mystery, I know that like in meta patterns, they're shapes. And ours are kind of movements like fluidity and spiralic. So suspension in that way is a movement. But I don't know, sometimes I wonder if there's it's also a kind of a meeting point where the golden threads cross. So I'm really curious of your input into looking at these states of consciousnesses and all that is within this suspension, the pituitary pineal region. All right. Thank you.